Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Opposition spokesman on education, Reverend Ronald Thwaites, says the survey to monitor the readiness of teachers for the primary exit profile PEP is more than a year late. Last week, Education Minister Senator Roel Reid said a survey is to be done by the Education Ministry to state the readiness of schools for the implementation of PEP. The survey was in response to concerns from the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA. Reverend Thwaites believes the survey should have been conducted a long time ago.
If you're going to introduce a new examination, which is appropriate, based upon a new curriculum, which many teachers have not yet digested, you are courting failure. It is better done late than never, but the concerns of the Jamaica Teachers Association are legitimate, and trying to catch up now is an unfortunate recourse that we have found ourselves in. I'm very sorry that it has gone this way, and I hope that we can recover ground quickly.
The JTA has called for its implementation to be phased in over 3 years, with the Grade 6 Achievement Test GSAT continuing in the interim. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is urging parents whose children have been turned away from school because they have not paid auxiliary fees to report the matter to him or their political representatives. Mr. Holness says since the government has removed tuition fees, many schools have been increasing auxiliary fees.
As soon as we remove the tuition fee, we noticed that auxiliary fees started to creep up and replace tuition.
Mr. Holness says this practice to turn away students due to the non-payment of auxiliary fees must be stopped.
The government has made it easier, no question. And I want to repeat for parents, send your children to school. No school can turn back your child if they cannot afford the auxiliary fee.
Mr. Holness was speaking at a meeting on Sunday night to present the candidate for St. Elizabeth Northeast Delroy Slowly. Faced with calls for a speedy investigation into the murder of 14-year-old Yatania Francis in Arnott Garden, St. Andrew, senior investigators will today review the case. This was confirmed by a member of the Kingston Western Police as they indicated they had no leads in the probe. Last weekend, detectives from the Denham Town Criminal Investigations Branch said they were making slow progress and appealed to residents to provide information. The cops have not yet identified a suspect in the case as residents have remained silent. Yatania was raped, murdered, and her body set ablaze. It was reported that about 8 o'clock Thursday evening, the teenager left home and went to a nearby shop to buy food. When she did not return home, a search was launched by residents of the community, but she was not found. A curfew has been reimposed in 100 and Park Lanes off Red Hills Road in St. Andrew. Our news center was informed of the decision last night. It could not be ascertained when the curfew will be lifted. The police have been closely monitoring the communities after 6 persons were shot, 2 fatally, by gunmen on Saturday night. It was reported that persons were standing along Red Hills Road across from Park Lane when gunmen opened fire on them. Park Lane has been tense following the recent fatal shooting of 37-year-old nail technician Hazia Fowles, who resided in the neighboring 100 Lane. A curfew was imposed last Wednesday to quell the violence. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his government will not ease up on its crime-fighting strategies. Mr. Holness says although the country is seeing good results, Jamaicans should not become complacent. The Prime Minister says there is more work to be done.
I want to send a clear message now that the government of Jamaica, though we are seeing good results, Now is not the time for us to pull up stumps, to back off, to ease up. Now is the time that the government of Jamaica must redouble our efforts, because we do have the criminal gangs, the organized underworld on the run, and we must chase those crazy criminals out of town.
Take it to the police and let them deal with it. That's the response from Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, to Councillor Kenisha Allen about allegations of financial impropriety at the Manchester Municipal Corporation. Councillor Allen recently accused Mr. Phillips of not speaking publicly about the mismanagement of funds at the corporation. The St. Catharines Central Division councillor made the accusation while speaking at the Jamaica Labour Party's divisional conference in New Green, Manchester last week. Former Deputy Mayor of the Municipal Corporation, Irving Facey, was questioned in relation to the allegations. He subsequently resigned as Deputy Mayor but remains councillor for the Spur Tree Division. However, Mr. Phillips has asserted that it is not appropriate for him to comment on the matter at this stage.
And if it is that the councillor has any information that I don't have, nor the municipal council will not have in their possession, then come forth. If it is that one amongst us is guilty, then take it to the police and let them deal with it. But as it is now, the police and the ministry has taken control of the situation. The parish council itself, the municipal council, Manchester Municipal Council, the mayor himself has dealt with the matter publicly, and let the chips fall where they may.
A man was allegedly killed by a crocodile at the Helsher Pond in St. Catherine yesterday morning. He has been identified only as Ali of Newlands in Portmore. It's reported that about 9 o'clock, Ali and another man went spearfishing at the Helsher Pond. Ali was standing at the edge of the pond when he was attacked by the reptile, which dragged him under the water. The Marine Police were summoned, and after a prolonged search, the partially eaten body was retrieved from the pond. Broadcast journalist George Davis is the new president of the Press Association of Jamaica, PAJ. Mr. Davis succeeded two-term President Dion Jackson Miller at the association's annual general meeting yesterday. Mr. Davis was nominated unopposed. Mrs. Jackson Miller could not be re-elected after serving 2 consecutive 2-year terms. In news overseas, Pope Francis says he will not say a single word on calls for him to resign over his handling of sexual abuse allegations against a prominent cardinal in 2013. We have more from the CNN.
Pope Francis visiting Ireland this weekend under the cloud of multiple sexual abuse scandals. He spoke out about the issue today, saying the failure of ecclesiastical authorities adequately to address these appalling crimes has rightly given rise to outrage and remains a source of pain and shame for the Catholic community. But he's under intense pressure to take action to ensure accountability for church officials who have long ignored or covered up abuse. The latest case is in my home state of Pennsylvania, where the Attorney General issued a nearly 900-page grand jury report. It details abuse of more than 1,000 individuals by hundreds of priests going back 7 decades across all of the state's archdioceses. Since its release, a state hotline created for church victims has received more than 500 calls, and other stories keep coming across the nation and around the globe. And yet, as an article in Justia called Clergy Sex Abuse in Pennsylvania, No Justice is Intolerable pointed out, Marcy Hamilton wrote, there has yet to be a single hearing or even a speech by a national leader addressing, let alone condemning, the systemic sexual abuse of thousands of children across the United States. Marcy Hamilton joins me now. She's a senior fellow in the program for research on religion at the University of Pennsylvania and founder of the nonprofit think tank to prevent child abuse and neglect, Child USA. Are those words still true? I know that a few days have ticked off the clock since you wrote that piece. Has anybody with a national platform, an elected official, spoken on this issue or called for hearings?
Not one. And in fact, I'm still waiting for anybody in Washington to say the 3 words, clergy sex abuse. It just hasn't happened.
And in sports, newly elected president of the Americas Federation of Netball Associations, Jamaica's Marva Bernard, says among her immediate objectives will be to improve the world ranking and visibility of countries within the region. Bernard, the former Netball Jamaica president, was elected AFNA president earlier this week for a 4-year term. Bernard, who will also be the area representative on the board of the world governing body IFNA, says there will be great focus on helping the lesser-ranked countries in the Caribbean region.
Top 12 or 15 of INF-ranked countries, we want to have more tournaments amongst ourselves so that we can begin to pull up the other islands and that are not yet a part of this grouping.
Bernard, who also previously served as an IFNA vice president responsible for finance, says she will also be looking to lift the profile of the sport in the Central and South American region.
We want to spread the game to the other areas which fall under our region, North and Central and South America. Already we have Argentina, and Argentina is doing a great job to grow the game in that South American continent. But until then, these are just some of the snippets of what we want to do. We have to improve the quality of the administration in these countries. We have to help the smaller countries. The body system is something we've talked about.
Bernard will be supported on her executive by First Vice President Mary Webb of Canada, Second Vice President Javon Edwards of St. Martin, Secretary Bridget Adams of Trinidad and Tobago, and Treasurer Jacinta Ballantyne of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.